You have a great expression which says, what has to die is your refusal to die. And so you want people to be with the death, to be there with it for all of its uncomfortableness and its deity, and not schedule it in euthanasia.
No, because the center of the observation you're making is still the person's feelings about the thing. Okay. If you're marrying somebody, okay, it's understandable that you'd be preoccupied with how you feel about the person. But somewhere over there is the person who's not a sum total of how you feel about them. They were there before you had any feelings about them at all. And with any luck, there'll be a big portion of them that's not highly responsive to your feelings about them. That's trustworthy. That's dying. Dying is not the sum total of how you feel about it or the adjustment you make to accommodate it. I don't know how to say it more intensely than deity. And a deity, when it comes present among us, is a deep disrepairer, you could say. It undoes anything that's not informed by it. Let's use an example of people's belief system. I get asked all the time in interviews, so did you have, people who had strong beliefs died on your watch? Yes, they did. And they must, by virtue of having these beliefs, must have died better than the generic, non-aligned people. I said, why would you say that? Well, because their beliefs must have enabled them to... Well, you're counting on something. You're counting on their religious orientation to life or their spiritual orientation to life was crafted in the presence of this deity called death. That's what you're counting on there. So you know what I'm going to tell you. Virtually everybody's belief system that I worked with was designed and undertaken to protect and defend them against the presence of the deity. Not to learn its ways and live alongside it in the time that was left, but to have a firewall to prevent it until collapse was inevitable. And hopefully if the collapse lasts longer than 24 hours, you have a good outcome.
Any exceptions to that? Was there anyone that...
Sure, but they didn't need me, you see.
Right.
So what was my job? To make myself obsolete. Of course. To democratize death wisdom. That was my job. To work myself out of a job. That was my responsibility. But unfortunately, I sort of came of practice age in a time of increasing specialization. Well, this is no surprise, actually, because increased specialization is a ghetto. And if you can ghettoize end-of-life care and the alleged practice wisdom to guide its many technologies and so on, you've got job security for the people working inside the ghetto. And the direct consequence of that is the capacity of the general public to come to their death as a practitioner of dying, instead of as a victim of it, is virtually non-existent, because the pros own the wisdom, and you submit to them, not to the dying. So the reason I'm sitting here essentially talking to you is to act on this self-appointed task of democratizing the wisdom. But democratizing the wisdom is not all light and flowers, as you've acknowledged. Pretty dark, you said. Yeah, because death wisdom begins with an acknowledgement of our fundamental poverties in this regard. And if you leave that out, you turn it into another, hope and dreams campaign. You're back in that thing that you think you're an alternative to. I was never in the customer satisfaction business.